Welcome, everyone, to Word Balloon Academy, presented by Seneca College School of Creative Arts and Animation. My name is Miles Baker. I'm the Executive Director of the Toronto Comic Arts Festival. And this session is behind the merch table. And we're very excited to pass things off to Jaslyn, who's going to introduce our panelists and have a great discussion all about turning your art into a product and how to, get the business side of your practice in real high gear. Before I pass things off to Jaslyn, I want to take a moment to acknowledge the original caretakers of the land that I'm on today, the Haudenosaunee, the Anishinaabe, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and the Wendat peoples. I'm joining you today from my home. This is, surprisingly my home. I just have TCAF banners up in every room of my house. And my home is in the area that is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which is an agreement between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, Haudenosaunee, and other allied nations. This area is also covered under Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. I make this acknowledgement as part of a long process in learning what it means to grow up, live, make art, make comics festivals in colonized lands. Going forward, TCAF is committed to increasing Indigenous voices and perspectives in our programming. If at the end of the beginning remarks, we will have a Q&A, so you can start popping those into the Q&A section. We have Pip in the comments there helping with some great things as well. So if you have any issues along that line, feel free to message either myself or Pip. And with all of that, I am going to pass things off to Jaslyn. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Miles. Thank you for that land acknowledgement too. Hello, everyone. I am Jaslyn Stone. I'll be your moderator today. I am a freelance comics and tabletop marketer. I help creators, publishers, companies find their fans and create lasting experiences with those fans. And I'm super excited to be here. I hope that you brought some water because you're going to be in those seats for an hour. You're going to be glued to the screen. I hope you brought something to take notes with. I did. I am so honored and so excited that both of our panelists agreed to do this with me today. They are two of the most prolific, intelligent, creative illustrators and merchandisers in the scene. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And so I'm just so honored. So I'm going to let them actually introduce themselves. So Stone, she, her. Gigi, why don't you start and tell us your pronouns, please?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Gigi, also she, her. And I'm just a freelance illustrator, and I predominantly produce body positive art of women, as well as art that mixes the cute and macabre. And I'm just generally trying to put things out into the world that I would want to see and I wanted to see growing up. And merchandise-wise, I usually print stickers, enamel pins, apparel, tote bags. And I'm just trying to expand that more the more experience I gain.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen Cunningham, she, her, also my pronouns. I am an illustrator and a freelance merch designer. I run my own business where I design my own apparel, enamel pins, prints, things like that. But I also do freelance merch design right now for a bunch of bands through Warner Music Group, which has been really cool. I'm a creative director for music-related product lines. But like Gigi, I'm just trying to make the stuff I wanted when I was growing up, and I love collecting art and making art that's accessible and affordable for people to access.
Yay! Okay, so obviously a stacked panel. And again, chat, you can drop those questions in Q&A, and we'll have a little Q&A section at the end where we'll try to answer as many as we can. Okay, so let's start. What was the first piece of merch that you made, and what was the first piece that sold well?
Oh, my first piece of merch, other than a commission, and I used to sell my commissions for $35. Oh my God. I know.
Wait, can you explain why we both just had that face?
The commission is an original piece of art. It is a luxury item, and it should be priced as thusly, meaning anywhere from $100 to and thousands of dollars, depending on the media you work in, your following, what you're offering. Like you're gonna price a headshot differently from a full body piece. And I used to sell full body marker portraits at $35. Um, but the first piece of merch I sold was a set of superheroine postcards, and they were reimagined as like retro designs, and I sold them pretty close to cost. And that was just, baby merchandiser mistake, but it happens. The first piece of merch I sold that was really like super widely accepted and adored and loved, and it sold out so fast, was an enamel pin, my first enamel pin of an original character.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And Karen, how about you?
So similarly, I think we all kind of start out with prints because they're easy to make. We're familiar with making that kind of artwork, so it just translates. I was definitely prints of my work. I think my first piece that I like really sold was of some rays and like a moon that I did, and I sold it at like a local convention. But the first thing I did that like really made me want to do this, I did again my first enamel pin, just like Gigi. I did a Britney Spears lyric yesterday, and I did 50 enamel pins, and I took them to a convention, and they sold out on the first day, and I was like, okay, like this is something, like now I can do more of this.
I think I have that pin of yours.
I have so many more pins too, please.
That's awesome. That's so exciting. Okay, so do you have like careers outside of your art career right now? And if you don't, when did you make that switch? Like when were you like, oh, actually I can do this for a living and be okay?
I'm gonna let Karen answer first.
So all of my careers are in art. They're just like a few different avenues. I do have a 9-to-5 job that's been kind of axed with COVID. I'm an in-house designer somewhere, so I do in-house design. Then I also do freelance design where I work with clients. I do wholesale, so I send existing products I've done to different companies, and I run my own online store and brand. So all four of them make up my career as it stands right now.
Nice. And how about you, Gigi?
I made the switch very recently last year, and it was because of COVID. I was let go from my full-time graphic designer position. I was also an in-house graphic designer for a tattoo ink manufacturer. But with the way that that career shifted constantly, I was at one point also doing like the marketing. And at one point I was helping plan a convention from scratch and dealing with the health department because we're dealing with tattoo artists. And at another point, I was dipping my feet into videography with our other graphic designer because our videographer was like let go. And then we planned a whole marketing calendar, and I wore so many different hats in that job that eventually just helped me elevate my own brand. So it was a blessing in disguise, as miserable as it was while it was happening, because I was hired to be a designer, and here I was like running their social media and doing other things that I never thought I was going to be paid to do for this company. But other than that, like I kept telling myself I wasn't ready to let go of a full-time job just because it's such a great security blanket to have around you. If you fail, that's okay. You're being paid hourly somewhere else. So that's, failing is fine. But after I was let go and realized I was still floating above water, I was like, oh, I can do this by myself. That's interesting. That's fun. And I've been my own boss ever since.
Wow. And during COVID, it sounds like both of you kind of went full time into the self-design.
Yeah.
So that's like a real sink or swim moment. Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's impressive. Okay, so let's switch to, this is a question that we got a lot on. I'm seeing some love in the chat. So nice to see other in-house designers making the switch to making their own stuff. Yeah, it's exciting. Let's talk about tools. So which e-commerce platform do you both use, if you don't mind me asking?
No, not at all.
I use right now Squarespace integrated with ShipStation. I made that switch pretty recently. I was using Store Envy for a long time because it was totally free and it didn't charge me a fee. It did charge my customers a fee, which I didn't like, which is the reason why I jumped ship. But it was a great starting platform. I just prefer the Squarespace ShipStation integration. It makes it easier for doing large quantity orders, which I am now doing. But yeah, that's what I'm using.
That's so funny because I started on Etsy, and I'll explain why after, but I jumped from Etsy to Store Envy and from Store Envy to Squarespace, and I just made the switch this year from Squarespace to Shopify. So I'm following a similar path that Karen was following. And a lot of the reasons I switched were exactly what you listed. Store Envy started to do weird charges, and while it was free for a creator and it's a great place to be, and the one benefit that they have above Etsy is that you can opt out of their marketplace, which means Store Envy will not take a portion of your profit in order, because they put your product in front of someone, so they take a cut. But that's why I started on Etsy, because their search engine is so optimized that when people are buying things that are similar to what you make, they will automatically push your product in front of people like, you might also enjoy this person. And it helps you build a client base, which is really important when you're starting out. But it's also important to recognize when you've grown past the need to use someone for that, and you can gently shift your client base onto something that fully benefits you and gives you 100% of what you make.
Can I ask how that experience was? Like, how was it getting your clients to move from Etsy over to Store Envy?
It was pretty easy just because Etsy lets you set like little notification messages when someone messages you, or a message when you close your store up. So all you really have to do is tell people you're no longer using the platform and link your new shop. And they get it. They understand. And if they seek you out actively, they're always just going to look for your shop link, not necessarily search you on a platform.
Nice.
Right. I think when you're first starting out, it is helpful to have those search engines putting in the marketing work for you. But once you have a platform where you can drive your own traffic, then like you said, it's really not hard because people are looking for you specifically rather than for a certain kind of product and you happen to show up.
Okay. So Gigi, you're on Shopify, which is pretty high level. And Karen, you're on Squarespace, which is also like pretty high level. What you said you use ShipStation. What other like integrations have you found work best for both of those platforms?
Shopify has a pretty great already built in like shipping thing. Like they have their own rates with different shipping companies. So depending on the level that you sign up with them, they will give you a certain amount of discount off of that label. So it's great because you don't have to bring in outside integrations. But the one thing I really love about Shopify is their app section has so many things that if you're thinking of something you want to do for your store, they can integrate it, because I guarantee some third party already thought about it. So if you want an upgraded FAQ section for your page, if you want a countdown timer, if you want to be able to show quantity stock of your products so that when something's running low, people can see there's only 3 of that item left or 1 left. There's a third party that's thought about it. There's people that have reviewed it for their own platforms, and you feel confident integrating it into your website.
You're making me want to switch. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I can see your face like.
But the thing I like about Squarespace is that it has the integration, but I do have to pay separately for the ShipStation. And to do a commerce account on Squarespace and the ShipStation at the level I need it to be at, I'm spending a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie. It ends up being worth it for me because I like how seamless it is. But if you can subscribe to something that has everything already in there and has all those bonus features, you have me like thinking thoughts.
Ooh.
If you don't mind
Karen's
going
like,
a more route for a younger creator on Squarespace, you can just ship out the printing label through PayPal, since those are usually go hand in hand. It won't be as easy to ship out large quantities of orders. So if you're familiar with your own order flow, no, it's not going to be very heavy. Give yourself the money of integrating ShipStation. But knowing Karen and the quantity of orders you probably fulfill, ShipStation's going to be the way to go. And it's just going to be a cost you're going to have to expense.
Yeah, totally.
That's exciting. I love that we're all learning too on this panel. Okay, so let's get to the actual product design. What, just like from top, what's your favorite product to design?
Stickers. Stickers are so easy to design and so fun now that they come in so many different finishes other than just like vinyl. And I make far too many of them because they're so easy to do.
They're so good though. And and they're low cost and people can afford to collect a lot of stickers. So you're not asking a lot for someone if you want to design a ton of sticker designs.
Right.
What's your favorite sticker finish right now?
Right now, my favorite is between the holographic finish and like this matte mirror. So it's shiny, but not in your face. It's very classy looking.
Nice. And Karen, what's your favorite product to design?
Shirts, probably. Now that I've done it, and now that I like, there's something about like holding a shirt in your hands where you did the art on it. It's just like euphoria for me. And like, then you want to do a million of them, but the problem is they take up so much space that you get like boxes and boxes shipped to your house and you're like, what did I do? Like, it's way easier to make like stickers or enamel pins, which are also really fun, but a shirt is like the sky's the limit, and the payoff for me is totally worth it.
Yeah, and then you get to like see people walking around in your art.
Oh my God, seeing people post their pictures wearing it is like the ultimate for me.
How they style it.
Yeah, totally.
Okay, and then the opposite of that, what's a product that's incredibly hard to design, that you hate designing? Like, what's the opposite of the product euphoria you get from stickers and t-shirts?
For me, it's a love-hate relationship between enamel pins.
I know.
There's such a balance of complexity that you have to straddle in order to be able to give it to a manufacturer and know they're not going to come back at you with edits that you have to do to make it so that they can make it. And I remember going back and forth with my manufacturer for my first enamel pin, and I was getting so frustrated because they couldn't make it as it was. And I was just like, why the heck not? It's simple, it's easy. But I didn't understand, and I had to accept that I had to do it on their terms because I didn't know anything. And that was it was a difficult thing to accept, that I knew nothing because it was so new. I was just used to knowing everything. But from that first pin on, you start to make smarter design choices because you understand it so much better. And I'm sure Karen has a lot to say about that.
Yeah, there is a learning curve. You have to become familiar with the material that you're using and the limitations of the material, which is exactly what you're saying. When I first started off, my pins were super simple because I was afraid of doing something too detailed because I didn't know if it was possible. And then once you start to kind of like test the limits, you can figure out how detailed you can get, where you kind of have to pull back, what the different finishes do for you. I always recommend, if you're looking to get into enamel pins, Hanako Lambert is the pin god. She has the most amazing zine called Welcome to Pin Hell, which is really what it is when you make pins. You're just perpetually in hell. But it really helps you navigate that product and making the best version of it. And it is worth every penny and more. I've learned so much from it, and I super recommend it.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can drop that link in chat by the end of this.
Hanako
But
has those available as PDFs too. So if you can't buy a physical copy, that's okay. You can have it on your to get from that and get immediately to that section.
Okay, I just found it. I'm gonna drop it in chat. I hope TCAF doesn't mind. I'm sure they won't. It's an incredible book, an incredible resource. And thank you, Hanako, for helping all of us through that.
For real, thank you so much.
Shout out to Hanako. Thanks, Miles. Yeah. Okay, so you're making a new product. Do you how does the product design work, right? Like, do you draw something and you're like, oh, this would be a cute pin, this would be a cute sticker? Or do you sit down and you're like, I want to do a new line of stickers? How does that process go from design to getting it into your fans' hands?
Oof. For me, that happens pretty organically. I start to get into like a mindset like, I just want to draw a bunch of ladies with flowers and skulls. And hey, you naturally have a series, and that series lends itself to different things. So you can turn that series into a series of prints, some stickers. If there's one I love enough and I think, maybe she's a little above the rest, I will turn her into an enamel pin somehow. And you start to develop a collection around the collection of work that you've made. Other than that, I generally don't sit down and think like I'm going to do this for this unless it's with my other brand, Killer Curves, because we've been starting to do themes. So it's like, well, now I got to sit down and rough draft a bunch of designs surrounding this theme. And then I bring it to a table, and all of us designers, I'll look at each other's stuff. And it's like a traditional in-house design process with that brand that I'm developing. But with my own, it's more like a follow your heart situation.
That's so cool. And the complete opposite of the way I work, which is why I think it's so cool. I am someone who I love structure and rigidity. So I will figure out what I want to do. And I'll be like, I want to do a merch line. It's going to be 3 shirts, 8 pins, 2 stickers, and an accessory. And I give myself the challenge of make something cohesive that stretches across all these things. So then I will sit down and challenge myself to make that happen. And that for me feels warm and cozy because I'm working my brain, and I know that in the end it'll all come to. So that's how I go about it. And then I kind of pick and choose from there. Maybe I don't make all 3 shirts, maybe I only make 2 of them, but I like giving myself that structure personally.
And that's hard.
That's so cool.
That kill your darlings mentality where you have to let something go because it's not as strong. It is one of the hardest things you have to face as an artist.
Yep. That's one of the most important lessons that I have learned, but still have to kick into myself, because sometimes I'll make something and I knew I shouldn't have done it. And I'm like, you should have listened. And then I have it sitting there and it's not selling as well. And I'm like, you knew. You knew. Anyway.
It's that gut feeling that you start to listen to because it knows. You may not know, but it knows.
So how do you do that? How do you kill your darlings?
You shelve it. There will always come a better time down the road where it's going to fit better into a different collection. So you just have to accept that right now is not the time for that piece. And I guarantee when you revisit it, you're going to make smarter changes to that design. You just had really good bones to start with.
Totally. Yeah, you can always, or you can pull something from it. There's something that can be learned from it, even if you don't produce it. And that's what I tell myself. Well, I had to make this product that's not as good in order for me to leap over to this other design that is better.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all part of the process. That's awesome. How do you test new products? If you wanted to add, let's say, joggers into your store, how would you go about adding that and testing it with your fans and seeing if they would like it?
Generally speaking, I test new items with my patrons now. So I will do a baby run, see how my patrons like it. And if they like it, it's pretty much a guarantee that everyone else will enjoy it, because there's such a concentrated A/B test audience that I have, essentially, where I can see what they skew towards most and what they enjoy. And it's nice to have a smaller, limited audience that I can trust to give me an honest answer, essentially.
That's so smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's I'll put it on Twitter in a casual way, what if I did this? Haha, maybe. And then see if people get really into it. And if they do, then I'm okay, I have something. And if the reaction is then I'm I'll see how I'll come back to it. I see how I feel about it, but that's putting it on my socials is kind of thing I think is a pre-order, because sometimes you make something and you just go for it and you don't pre-order it and you make too much of it. So if you do a pre-order, yes, people have to wait a little bit longer to get it, but you're only making how much the demand is. So you're not really losing anything in the process. If it's not as terrible.
Yeah, it's also arguably better for the environment, right? Because we're not making like 200 shirts when really we only needed 50. And so then we have to figure out what to do with 150 shirts. Yeah, that's awesome. Gigi, since you brought it up, can we talk about your Patreon a little bit?
Yeah.
Because it's so impressive. And I just want to know, like, how has it changed your career? And how do you, because it's pretty big, right? Like you have a decent sized amount of patrons. You don't have to give us like exact numbers, but your Discord is active and wholesome and exciting. And so how do you find new patrons, and how do you keep that community going?
Well, finding new patrons, they come to me. I just try to constantly put the fact that you can support me directly in front of people as often as possible. Underneath every tweet that has new art in it, or if I post a new thing to my Facebook or my Instagram, try to mention it somewhere, even if it's the barest hashtag of like Patreon creator, like I am on Patreon, you can support me on there. But oh gosh, having a Patreon's just been a blessing. Like they've become my full-time job essentially. Anything, everything I make is for them first. And they're my new 9 to 5, but it's a 9 to 5 that I love. I love producing work for them. I love hearing their feedback. And they're so fun on the Discord community. Like when you bring so many like-minded individuals together, they bring their other passions too, whether that's D&D, fashion, whether it's like Wiccan related things, video games, new shows they're watching, things they're reading. They love to share with each other what they're currently passionate about. So they generally keep going themselves. And I've been so blessed. I don't have to lay down any rigid rules or remind people to behave. Like my rules are so easy. They have their own little channel. It takes up maybe this much space. And they say, be nice or else, treat others as you treated, and no putting yourself down. And that's my 3 major rules. And no one's breached them. No one's been rude or derogatory or, inflammatory hate speech. People genuinely care for one another and they care for me. And I love them so much. I would genuinely recommend, if anyone's looking to be supported by the people that enjoy their work, to start a Patreon. You don't have to offer a lot to be a big Patreon. Something as simple as a tip jar, starting at $3 a month, people will sign up. People like what you do.
That's awesome. Any advice for somebody who's started one and doesn't really know how to grow it out? Like they feel like they're kind of plateauing with their Patreon.
I would say if you feel like you're plateauing, you might be missing like an X factor. So, some Patreons will offer discounts or early access into a shop, which is great. It's like a little benefit that they get. You're not having to ship out a reward every month, so it's not going to stress the hell out of you. And you just need to think of little ways that will keep them feeling special, but also won't tax you as a creator. Like I let my patrons, depending on their level, into my shop early. Highest level gets to get in maybe days depending on when the shop opens. The next one, 2 days. The tip jar gets 24 hours before everybody else. Every tier gets its own benefit, and every patron gets like an extra little something in their order. So I will give them a free sticker and a free print, or depending on what I have on hand, maybe it'll be a free keychain, like whatever I
Yeah.
can to make them feel special and to thank them, I will do it. So if you're a creator that feels like you're plateauing, are you offering your patrons enough from outside of what you do socially? Because
Hmm.
sometimes just offering your work ahead of time, while it is great, isn't enough for a lot of people. They want just something a little more. And it could be as easy as early access to your shop. It could be as easy as time-lapse videos that you maybe don't share on social media. Small tutorials, they don't have to be super complex. Some people just want some help with their own work. So it could be even a tier that you offer critiques for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
It's whatever you can manage without making yourself go crazy.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's a um, really impressive group, I would say. Like they're all so supportive. And I think that community creation that you've done is just like, oh, yes, that's the good stuff. That's the patron supporting creator that like, that's what it was, the idea behind the platform. It's really exciting to see it happen. And then Karen, you had mentioned pre-orders. And so you've done pre-orders and you've also done an incredibly successful Kickstarter that made over 130,000, correct?
It made 130,000 during the initial fundraising campaign, another 55,000 add-ons and pre-orders, and then has since done another like 30,000 or so in revenue.
So over 200,000. I don't math real fast, but congrats. And so your initial like goal was $3,000.
My initial
correct?
goal was $3,000, but my ultimate goal to achieve every stretch goal, so to make everything I wanted to make, was 25.
Oh, okay. So, how does one do a Kickstarter like that? Like, what did you like? Do you have any orders kept coming in? What was that like?
I designed it to be as successful as humanly possible. I didn't ever dream that it would be that much, but I did go into it with the expectation that I was going to push it and push it and push it, and like till it couldn't go anymore. So
What does that look like
I did
for
that,
you?
like intense marketing campaign, which got blown out the window within like literally like 3 hours. So I had to redesign a marketing campaign. I had to adjust along because it was growing faster than I thought, but meticulously planning what would happen. Yeah, but otherwise, I think if I wasn't keeping like such careful tabs on every single thing that I did and the consequences of every move and every bit of marketing that I did, I would have gotten overwhelmed. But I really, at no point other than the first like hour, that was when I had like a panic attack, and then I was okay for the rest of it.
What was it like when it hit 6 figures?
Doesn't feel real.
Like still?
It still doesn't. I can't comprehend that amount of money. I've never had that much money. I mean, we're artists. We're like hustling all the time, and like that, it's like monopoly money. That's what I said. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that it is real, or what. Obviously, I did not keep nearly that much. It had massive costs to produce and to ship and to run logistically, but intense for sure.
Yeah. And so you said that you meticulously planned everything. Can you just give us like an overview of like what do you mean when you say that you plan the marketing campaign? Like what does that look like to you?
So my marketing campaign was very simple. I didn't want to spend any money, and I wanted to be as authentic as possible, because I don't like this like hashtag ad thing. That was never something I wanted to do. So I said, okay, I have my audience, which is honestly not that big. I really relied on Twitter to help me share my Kickstarter, and then Instagram was great. I have a small account, but the hashtags can like really get you moving there. But really what did it for me is that I was accessing a fan community that already existed. So I just had to find the places where those fan communities thrived and had a community that'd be willing to share things. So for those of you who don't know my Kickstarter, it was for fan made My Chemical Romance merch. They came back last year and I was super excited and wanted to make some merch. So I said, okay, where do these fans gather? There's a huge Instagram community. There's a huge Reddit community. There are Facebook groups. So I did my best to join all of those groups, and periodically I just, hey, I made some stuff. If you like it, check it out. If not, if they were on platforms that I wasn't on. So like, I'm not on Tumblr, but I know they have a huge Tumblr community. So I put a tweet out and said, if you're on Tumblr, you have a pretty decent following, let me know. I will send you some merch exchange promoting the Kickstarter. But I didn't tell them what to say. I just said, share a picture, share what you think is cool about it, and then post a link. And that was super successful for me. I just didn't want to feel like I was love, but I'm also a creator and I would like to share it with you. And I'm going to offer you something affordable. It's going to be high quality. It's going to be made with love. And if you want to support it, here's how you can do that. And then that just took off beyond my wildest dreams.
That's incredible. Yeah, and it's all like the love I think you can see throughout the products, because you did some deep dives. Like I have nothing against My Chemical Romance. I missed the boat. Like I never got into it. But I was like, I just want to wear all this stuff. Like I don't even know these lyrics, but like it was just so cool. It looked beautiful. Like I was connecting with it, even though I had, never heard the album. It was so well designed. And you could tell that you like every tiny detail of every product. You really paid attention.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was really impressive and it was cool to watch. Okay, so we're running a little bit low on time. So I only have like a couple more questions before I open up the Q&A. So how do you announce a new product marketing wise? Like how do you let people know that there's a new product in town?
Do you want to start?
Twitter for me, I just say Twitter on this day at this time, I'm putting it out there and that's really it for me. And I will retweet it every day at a different time, or I'll post a different angle of it or a different photo of it every day just to get momentum going. But it's just hitting the social media constantly for me.
Yeah, I'm about in the same boat. And on top of, announcing with a cute photo or a cute video or whatever photo shoot I did for that new merchandise, I will send it to my mailing list. I started a mailing list in the last year or two because I'm scared social media is going to tank eventually. Nothing is forever, but email is so old, it's going to hold whether we like it or not. So I started a mailing list so that I can just tag people that want to actually hear about my work and what new things I'm doing and anything I'm involved in. And generally speaking, I tell my mailing list first, and then I will announce it to social media after that. But before either of those, Patreon knows first. Patreon gets first dibs. Patreon knows exactly when they're going to be able to go into the store, and they get first dibs on everything and anything that is in there.
Nice. Speaking of how flippant social media is, which channel do you have the best return on investment for? Which is your favorite channel? Which do you think you get the most from?
Twitter. As I hate to say it, but the thing about Twitter that to me stands above everything else is the retweet button. All someone has to do is hit that retweet and your work sees a whole new audience. Whoever follows them is gonna see your work, and you might not have access to those people, but all it takes to support you is just one click. And I think for that, it's the ultimate.
It's funny because I like Facebook for that same reason. People share on Facebook, and I can generally anticipate anywhere from 500 to 1,000 shares a post. So I always get a better return on investment on Facebook than I do on Twitter or even Instagram or Tumblr or Artful or any other thing that I'm part of. Like, they always treat me really good.
Are you both on Artful?
No.
I got one. I got
And
one to get my handle, essentially.
Smart.
yeah, that's smart. What about TikTok? Are either of you on TikTok? Karen's like, I hate social media, honestly. I stick to what I need.
If I didn't need it for my business, I'd stay away from it. So I'm like, Twitter and Instagram is it for me.
I can't
Cool.
TikTok for the life of me. I'm old, but
But you got it to use it or to just hold the handle?
I got it to hold the handle first, and then I realized that it was good to have it because people that do make TikToks are looking to tag me because they're doing TikToks that have my work in it. So I'm like, well, might as well give them something to tag.
Nice. Yeah, that's smart. And just real quick before we go to Q&As, do you have like advice for starting a new channel?
Blast it on any big audience place that you have. I guarantee you your audience is probably already using whatever you just signed up for. So just put it in front of them. You follow me here, I'm now making content over here, whether that's YouTube because you're starting to do art tutorials or reviews on art supplies or products that you've used. TikTok because you're looking for a fun way to connect with the small business community and people that enjoy what you do. You know, every platform has a different thing that they're trying to put in front of you. So whatever you're putting in on Instagram, generally speaking, you know, it's going to spread over to something else. So your TikToks can be used on Instagram and vice versa. TikToks are easy to share somewhere else. Even Pinterest. I've seen artists make Pinterest accounts because people like pinning things like crazy. So if it looks like a crazy thing to try, just go for it and then put it in front of your current audience and they'll probably follow you there too.
Nice. Okay, let's jump into some Q&A. We have quite a few questions. I also pulled some questions from social media. I did a call there yesterday. So let's try to get through these as quick as we can so we can answer as many as we can. From Daphne Kiss, how do I push my work to a bigger audience? Thank you. Thank you, Daphne.
Participate in hashtag events.
Yes.
So if that's an art like portfolio hashtag that goes around sometimes. Mermay is currently what's happening. So participate in Mermay. When someone like a big artist has a draw this in your style, participate in that. I think that is the quickest and easiest way to grow your following.
Nice. Karen, anything to add?
No. That's perfect.
Nice. Okay, so from Tara Sidebottom, do you find that some products sell better at conventions than they do online? If so, why do you think that is?
Yeah, prints. 100%. At least I think prints, when you're in person, they're big, they're right in front of you. You can easily picture it on your wall at home. So you're going to take home a print. Online, you have a bit more time to say, well, I don't really have room for it here. Where would I put it? So for me, my prints sell really well at conventions and I sell almost none online.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm gonna side with that answer pretty well. Like a sticker moves, an enamel pin moves, a keychain moves, and that's because people can picture that in their hands, on a notebook, on their car, on their keys. Like they visualize that they want it, they buy it. A print is just something you have to see in person to pick it up yourself, kind of size it out and be like, actually, this is the perfect size for my bathroom, my bedroom, that hallway that I keep telling myself I'm going to put something in, but don't. Conventions are just great for selling our prints.
Cool. From Catherine, how long did it take your merch business to become financially viable?
That's hard, at least for me, because I held a day job for so long. And it varies year to year. I would say it took, for me to feel like I was being successful and getting a good return on my investments, it probably took like 2 years for me to like find my groove on what sold, what my audience was, being able to predict how much I would make. It definitely takes some time and some trial and error. So if you're just starting, be patient with yourself.
Yeah,
Nice.
I would say it took me at least 5 years. So it really is trial and error. And how much help you get from your fellow artists that might already be doing it. I know I definitely owe a lot to like Jen Bartel, who helped me out when I was starting to do enamel pins, Babs Tarr, who helped me understand the business side of illustration so much more than going to school ever did. I was so lucky she took me under her wing and helped me understand how to market myself better.
Community helping each other too.
Absolutely.
Okay, how do you balance, Connie asks, how do you balance promoting your work, social media, etc., to build an audience with actually sitting down to make the work?
I think we're still learning.
I read once somewhere that it was supposed to be like 25% promotion, 75% making the work. That's probably.
In what year?
Yeah, that's what I read, like 2 hours a day doing promoting. That sounds right. Who knows? I'm winging it.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, you find a balance naturally. Just putting in the work, you see how much energy left to promote. So always prioritize actually 20 minutes in your day to sit down and make the posts across all the socials that you're on. Put yourself and your work first. That's what sells.
Nice. Okay, so Emily asks, have you ever felt bad for asking people for money for your art or services? If yes, how did you get past that?
Maybe I'm sorry. And maybe I'm the
don't be sorry.
I know that I work really hard and I put my effort in there. I think you have to value yourself and value your skill and your time and know that you're making something people want. You're not getting someone to give you money for something that they don't want. They already want it. So let them pay you for it.
Let them pay you what you're asking.
Yes. Don't settle, because what you think, even if you shortchange yourself a little bit, if you say, oh, you know, I'm going to sell these commissions for $50 because I don't think people pay $100. They'll pay $100 if they want it. So price yourself at what you're worth.
I think one of the most important things to keep in mind when you're trying to get over that guilt of asking people for money for your work is that art is a luxury item. It is something people don't need to survive. It is not something that is a God-given right for anybody to own. It is something people want, like a tattoo, like any fine art piece that you get commissioned. Art is a luxury item. So if people don't want to pay what you're asking them to pay, they can save up for it, or then someone else. It's very easy.
That's all really good advice. Sorry, I just love what Karen's like, nah, I've never felt bad about it. Pay me. Like,
I love that energy. I need that.
I love that. Yeah,
life.
taking that energy forevermore. Okay, Samantha asks, I've noticed artists being so secretive about who their enamel pin manufacturers are. Have you experienced that, and or where would you recommend someone start when researching manufacturers?
Facebook groups. There are enamel pin Facebook groups where people share the manufacturer that they made their brew. They review them. So their experience talking to their customer service, how easy it was to get them to understand what design they wanted to do, if they offer physical proofs or not, or if they offer at least photos before they full production. Those enamel pin groups on Facebook are so open, so honest, and the people that own them have spreadsheets of all the manufacturers, what they do, where they're coming from, an average review of that manufacturer, and a place where you can actually read the reviews that people are putting out for these manufacturers. And I wish I'd known about them when I started out, because people are secretive. Just because the manufacturer gets overwhelmed, the quality decline. And from that point out, everyone else who was using that manufacturer has to now source a new manufacturer, which is a whole new hell, which is why people are so secretive. But those groups are a blessing. They just want to help each other make merchandise. And honestly, on top of those groups, there's other groups that do group orders. So this is when small creators come together, pool their money, in order to have the buying power company together, and they get good rate per unit on their product. They keep each other in the loop on whether or not, you know, their product arrived in good condition. And generally speaking, it's just a good place for any small creator to start.
I would add quickly, don't be afraid of a middleman. You don't have to go to a factory, especially when you're first starting. I actually use a middleman now just because I prefer the customer service experience of knowing I'm sending my design and someone else is handling it for me. You will pay a little bit more, but you're going to have someone helping you through this at first. So don't be afraid to look for middlemen who are also usually small businesses. So you're supporting a small business in doing that.
I definitely agree with that, just because a middleman is gonna save you your energy and heartache and a lot of your mental power that you can put towards making more work, essentially. So you're paying them to deal with the headache, and they're worth it.
Can you just quickly describe what like a manufacturer middleman does for those who may not know?
Rather than contacting the company in China yourself, almost all enamel pins are made in China. It's someone who is in the United States. They have experience dealing with these manufacturers. They have a direct line to a factory. So this person is in the middle between you and the factory. And any issues you have, any questions you have, they will get them answered for you. And you don't have to deal with any language barrier. The time difference for me was the worst. And you also are holding someone accountable for a good product. So they're always going to make sure that you get the best quality.
Nice. Yeah, that's really helpful. And it does cost, it takes a little bit away from your profit, but the sound of mine, I would argue, is worth it.
Yeah.
Okay, last one. Man, there's so many good questions.
You can also answer them on Twitter, or at least I'm willing to. If you find me there, I'm happy to help.
Yeah, I'll drop everyone's Twitters in the chat. I'm going to drop 3 links at once. Let's see if this works. If you're enjoying this panel, feel free to follow all of us, and you can tweet questions at us afterwards, and we'll do our best to answer. Okay, this one has come up in a couple of ways. So let's do Kyle's. Is it okay to make merch based on other properties like Disney characters, wrestlers, public figures?
You have to really look at what the copyright law is surrounding that thing. I know I did a whole merch line for a band. I made sure I was only using song titles, which are public property and cannot be copyrighted. I was really not trying to use those up, can be copyrighted. Don't use the band name, don't use the band's likeness. I knew that those were my parameters. So generally speaking, I know Disney is a huge no-no. It really depends on what you're making fan content of, I think.
Right. Like, I know a lot of Japanese companies and animation companies are very of the don't bite the hand that feeds you mindset. So they don't mind, generally, if you make under 100 units of a fan piece, like they're pretty okay with that. But American-based companies like Marvel, DC Comics, Disney Corporation, they will come at you with a cease and desist as soon as it hits your page. So it's just, I'm not going to say it's okay to make merch based on properties like that, but there are ways of getting around it that are generally accepted, is what I'm going to say. So no, it's not okay, but just kind of look around at what your peers are doing and gauge the general okayness based off of what you're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, worst comes to worst, you design something and they ask you to cease and desist it, but you can put it in your portfolio as an example of something that you are capable of making, and then you can pivot to something else.
I also think that now's a good time to say that none of us are lawyers, so you should definitely contact a copyright lawyer if you have access. I know that there are some free lawyers, and you can just Google like copyright lawyer for artists. There are some databases that'll help you connect with a lawyer, so you can do like some Q&A pro bono. So blanket, we are not lawyers there. Okay, so we're down to our last 5 minutes. I want to give you all a chance to plug yourselves. So where can people follow you? what do you have coming up? And do you have any last pieces of advice for people on their professional creative journeys?
Oh gosh. Okay, well, first, hi, I'm Gigi again. You can follow me generally at Gigi Draws, so JIJIDRAWS, pretty much anywhere. My website's ggnight, as KNIGHT.com. And I guess any lasting advice I would have for a creator is that you're the best you're the best investment you can make. It is very scary to invest in yourself, but just go for it.
That's great advice. And how about you, Karen?
So you can find me pretty much anywhere that I want to be, Twitter and Instagram, at Karen Cunningham, which is just my full name if you see it in the little window. KarenCunningham.com is also my portfolio and my store. I can't plug anything I'm working on. I'm under so many NDAs, but I'm so excited to finally show everything that's going to come out over the next year. My last advice is make what you want to make, not what you think people will buy, because chances are people are so much more likely to buy what you want to make than something that you think they want, so you put yourself through it. That took me a long time to learn. I wish I had known it the whole time, but it's really whatever you're passionate about, people will see your passion and they'll support you for it.
Chat, I hope you're like writing all of this down, because I definitely need to copy notes off of somebody after this panel is done. Somebody send me their notes. So many beautiful quotes have been said. All right, thank you. I've been Jaslyn Stone, your moderator. You can find me on Twitter at Jaslyn Stone. You can find me on my website at jaslynstone.com. I'll try to drop that in chat too. This has been incredible. If you have additional questions, please, follow everyone on Twitter and you can tweet at them, maybe let's say for the next couple hours. Happy Mother's Day to everyone in the States. Stay hydrated. Thank you to TCAF for having us. This has been an incredible morning for me. So thank you so much.
Thank you, TCAF. Thank you, Jasmine.
Oh, no, thank you guys so much. That was a great second program of our packed WBA schedule. It is also Mother's Day here in Canada. We also like moms in Canada, and TCAF remains a Mother's Day holiday event, for better and for worse. Once again, I have to thank our presenting sponsor, Seneca College School of Creative Arts and Animation, the presenting sponsor, WBA. Special thanks, of course, also to the Beguiling Books and Art, Page and Panel, the TCAF shop, as well as our government funders, the Canada Council for the Arts, the Ontario Art Council, and the Toronto Art Council. The works of all kinds of creators have made all kinds of merch, from prints, which, a little bit dicey to ship, of course, but definitely some are in there. Enamel pins, stickers, and a ton of books are all available at torontocomics.com. There's 300 exhibitors there from all over the world. You can check out with one unified cart, and then in a couple of weeks, you'll have a box of goodies arrive at your door. We also have programming going up every day until May 15th. You can find that also at torontocomics.com. Next for WBA, it starts at 2 p.m. It's grant writing. Lorraine will be covering topics like preparing your publishing history, your support materials, finding effective ways to make that project description go really, really well. And lots of great resources are coming up in that program at 2 p.m. So once again, thanks so much to all of our panelists, and I'll see you guys in 30 minutes.
Thank you.
So much. Bye.